1874 Preview Show.
Hello and welcome to the 1874 match preview show as Aston Villa take on Liverpool on Sky Sports Monday Night Football. I don't remember Villa being on too many times on a Monday night this season, if any at all. I'm sure Sky Sports' main man Dave Reed will correct me if that is right or wrong. Thank you, Dave. Is that right or wrong?
I think we've been on Monday Night Football before. I just can't remember off the top of my head which one it was.
I'm not sure we have. You know. No, I'm good at remembering stuff like this normally. Can't remember an MNF Villa this season. I really can't.
There's got to have been.
I guess every team has to have one potential. No. It's not popping into my head anyway. It's a great start to the show. We're here, of course, to preview Villa against Liverpool. We will not be talking about Europe, although it might come up. If you want to go and see what our thoughts were about the European game, then go back and check our match reaction to Olympiacos 2, Aston Villa 0. When I say we, I mean
you. I thought you were great.
Yeah, Dave Reed disappeared on that video due to internet stability issues in Solihull. He's still in Solihull now for the match preview show, but we're hoping by not doing it live that we'll be able to get by and do a show, the two of us, rather than me having to pad for 16 minutes. This show is sponsored by Luke Roper. If you want to get 20% off everything that Luke have to offer and get yourself a new summer wardrobe, then the code TVV20 will get you 20% off. Right, Dave, our attention turns to Premier League action. And I said in the aforementioned video that almost now, Villa are out of Europe. They know it's just Premier League. I mean, actually, by the time this goes out, or by the time Villa play Monday, they may have. No, they can't already have qualified for Champions League. Oh no, they can if Burnley win. So we don't know at this point what Tottenham and Burnley are going to do. We're going to assume, for the purposes of this, that Burnley lose to Tottenham Hotspur. Either way, whether they lose or whether they win, it could be one of those games that's almost like a carnival atmosphere at Villa Park. Last home game of the season, always a vibrant atmosphere. Monday Night Football under the lights, whether that be the first or the second or the third time that Villa have been Monday Night Football this season on Sky. So almost, let's say Spurs do win, it does almost become a kind of a mini cup final, because we know if we win, we're in the Champions League.
Yeah, I think you mentioned the carnival atmosphere there. I feel like it should be anyway. I'd like to think that, Villa supporters will go to the game with the feeling in the back of their mind that yes, we've gone out of Europe, and you might feel a little bit flat, but with this being the final home game of the season, this is an opportunity to really celebrate what this season has been about, and hopefully by the end of the game, Champions League football will be secured, or it might well be secured before kickoff, in which case what a great excuse for a party at home for the final home game of the season. So, this should be a real opportunity to celebrate what a great season it's been, rather than it feel like, we should have turned it around on Thursday night sort of feeling. It should be what a great season, what a great team. Let's really celebrate these players given their all over the course of the year, and really celebrate what they've achieved.
Yeah, Thursday night gone. You forget about it. You put it in the bin. You move on from it, and that's what the Villa players have kind of got to do. I do feel like they'll find some energy from somewhere on Monday night. Big game playing against Liverpool, one of the best teams in the world. And every time they come to Villa Park, it's a big game. I do think it being under the lights will help. Liverpool maybe one eye on the last game of the season, Klopp's last game at Anfield. And obviously they'll want to win the last two games anyway. Of course they will, but maybe one eye on the fact that Klopp's last game is going to be their special game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like, every game feels like it's got that feel to it at the moment, that the Klopp farewell tour has been going for the last few months. And for me, the Liverpool players, I don't think they'll be thinking about that final game just yet. It'll be one of those things where, the atmosphere at Anfield will hit them on that final day of the season, rather than it be in their minds on the build-up. And obviously this is the last away game of the season, so for a lot of potentially the away fans at Villa Park, it'll be the last time they're able to show their appreciation for Jurgen Klopp. So there might be an element of that. I just feel that the Liverpool players themselves will be fully concentrated on the job, and from their point of view, it's the final home game that I think will probably mean more to them than the game at Villa Park, sentimental wise, not obviously just in terms of getting the 3 points for them.
Yeah, I mean, I love Jurgen Klopp, and I've got a lot of respect for what he's done at Liverpool. Reinvigorated, the city, reinvigorated the football team. Don't know why I picked a word that I found really hard to say, and did it twice as well, which it wasn't really necessary. The last thing I want to see is Jurgen Klopp giving it the old fists at the end of the game, giving it stacks. I want to see Emi Martinez doing that in front of the whole team because Villa have qualified for the Champions League, and I do hope that we can kind of reset and forget about Thursday, forget about the Europa Conference League, and for me. I know I'm, this isn't necessarily a popular opinion here. For me, the biggest thing has always been finishing fourth. And if, we've got a chance to do this on Monday night if it's not secured already. So, yeah, it's absolutely huge game. Could actually end up being one of the biggest games at Villa Park for years. If you look at the end of last season, the Brighton game on the last day, that felt huge at the time to qualify for the Conference League. And that was the last day of the season. A potential chance to qualify for the Champions League at Villa Park, at home, in a season where we have largely been brilliant, and whatever happens, it's been a superb season. That's a real incentive there. That this could be huge.
Yeah, and when we're talking about big games, and we were talking about what happened on Thursday night, and the fact that if you want to compete against the top teams in the Premier League and in Europe, you have to be on it, not just for your 38 games, but also those extra 20, potentially 20 that you're going to be playing in Europe. And I think, from Villa's players' point of view, if they want to be competing at the top end of the Premier League, then they have to be up for these games. And there's no time, as Unai Emery said after the game on Thursday night, there's no time to waste. On to the next one. And the Villa players have to know that this game, as you say, could well be one of the biggest games we've seen at Villa Park, with the biggest incentive, the biggest prize on the line to secure Champions League football, for the first time in such a long time. So an amazing night. The players should be looking forward to it. There should be no kind of thinking, weary legs, all that sort of thing. They should be really looking forward to this game on Monday night to potentially secure what would be an historic achievement for that group of players. And you would expect the majority of this group to go ahead and tackle next season as well. So for them and their careers and their families, it's a massive thing for them to be qualifying and playing Champions League football.
Yeah, the extra day, I think, might help us. I think this is something that should be happening anyway. I think if you play on a Tuesday or the same thing, if you play on a Wednesday, your game should be pushed to a Sunday. And I think if you play on a Thursday, your game should be played on a Monday. Like, this is that extra day's recovery for us, could be massive, because Liverpool won't have played for 8 days. And this is the problem we're coming up against at the moment, when we're obliterated with injuries and, you've got tired legs and tired minds. This has been a problem for us, but hopefully the extra day may help us a little bit, Dave.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any doubt that the extra day will definitely help. They'll have a day off. They've had a day off on Friday, and then they'll be back in on Saturday, and then it'll be game prep on the Sunday, and then game day on Monday. So, there isn't any time for them to be thinking about what could have been or what might have been on Thursday. But I do think the extra day will help in that recovery. You're almost at the finishing line now. So it's a time now to put any niggling injuries just to one side for the moment. And we know a couple of these players have been playing through the pain anyway. And there's only a couple more games, and there might only just be Monday night, the Monday night game to get through, because if results go Villa's way, then, you can get it done on Monday night. So the last game of the season can be a time to kind of take your foot off the gas. It's just one more game to get through, one more big performance. And then the prize, what you've worked so hard for all season and what you deserve to get. I think Villa deserve to get Champions League football. Then that's yours. I think the extra day is a real need. And I think it'll be a real plus for Villa having that extra 24 hours.
Yeah, I want to be going into that last game against Crystal Palace and see the team and go, hello, Joe Gaucho. Nice to see what you're all about in goal. That's the kind of thing I want to be saying on the last day of the season. Let's talk about Liverpool then. Look, it's been, at one point they were going for quadruple again. It's been a disappointing tail off. They've probably lost and drawn games that they'll be really frustrated about looking back, because it wouldn't have taken much more to still be in the title race. A couple of wins, a win and a draw, they'd still be right in the mix. I think emotionally it's hard for Liverpool because Klopp has been such a big part of that club in the city, as I said. So I think, the players will be emotional about it as well, because, we talk about what Emery's done for these players. Klopp's done a hell of a lot for a lot of those players at Anfield, giving them times that they'll never forget in their career, and they'll probably look back on and say, that was the best time of my career. They haven't really got anything to play for because they're going to finish third regardless. Villa, unless it's in lockdown, don't have a brilliant record against Liverpool at home, but they've still got, it's still going to be a test. They've got some superb players. They're a team that's probably going to be in flux in the summer as well. They've got a few contracts coming to an end that I can't believe that they've not done anything about yet. But I just wanted to talk about the man who stole the headlines really on Sunday in the game against Tottenham, Harvey Elliott, but subtly in 2024 in particular, has been one of Liverpool's best performers. He's actually got the most assists across all competitions for Liverpool in 2024. Harvey Elliott, expect him to start against Villa. Doesn't really get talked about as an England prospect for the World Cup, for the Euros, which feels a bit strange to me because he's playing for a high level team at a high level. But for me, he actually is their most dangerous player at the moment and the one that's most likely to make something happen.
Yeah, and I think he's been a little bit unfortunate, really, because when Liverpool were in the kind of midst and the worst of their injury crisis, he was starting most weeks and was having an impact. And then when players started to come back, he kind of got shifted out of the team, and it was down to him to make a contribution from the bench. And now he's starting again, and he's really showing his quality. I think he can play in a number of different positions as well. He's starting in midfield. He can play in the forward line. So I think the Euros is going to be too soon for him and for Gareth Southgate. The fact that I don't think the England manager has had enough of a look at him with the group to justify selecting him, even though it's an extended squad size to 66. But I think certainly he'll be hoping that when the World Cup comes around, that he will be a real significant part of that squad. I really like him. I think he's got, he's almost perfect for Liverpool's counter-pressing style. He's got great physicality. He's not the kind of the tallest, but, he can run all day for you. He's great under pressure on the ball. He's got a great cross. We saw against Tottenham last Sunday that he's got a great strike on him as well. That goal was absolutely magnificent. And I think the way he's able to see the game as well for a player who is still at the kind of start of his career, really, the way he's able to function in that Liverpool team, particularly when he was playing in midfield against Spurs last week, where, he will often have to rotate positions with Salah, rotate positions with Trent Alexander-Arnold. That's not an easy thing for a young player to take on board and be able to achieve to such a high level that he's able to do. So he's not the finished player either. He's got a lot of improving to do, which is great for Liverpool. Let's hope he doesn't bring it to Villa Park on Monday night.
Yeah, it feels like just as they're coming to Villa Park, just as we're really struggling with injuries, like the worst they've been, they feel pretty much full strength. I can't think of anyone that's missing for Liverpool at the moment, which is quite unfortunate.
Yeah, it's just
who's long term.
Yeah, and Jota, I think, is going to miss the game, and Thiago, obviously, who's been a long-term absentee. But it's interesting when you think about Liverpool's season as a whole. I don't think anybody could really predict what they would achieve this year because of the rejuvenation that they needed in midfield, in particular. And I think this season's probably been about par for Liverpool. I think they would have liked to have made the Champions League, and they've done that. And I think it was probably a bit of a false position when they were challenging Manchester City and Liverpool, because this team isn't right in the prime of their cycle. They've got some players there that are coming towards the end of their time, probably at Liverpool. They've got some players there who are right at the start of their journey with Liverpool. So it's almost a bit of a transition period for them at the moment. They've got obviously the new manager coming in. So I think from Liverpool's point of view, we didn't really know how good they would be this season. They've been good. They haven't been great on a consistent basis, but they've shown glimpses of the fact that they could well be a great side, this new Liverpool team. So when they come to Villa Park, I think it'll be kind of a good test for Villa in terms of, can they compete against this Liverpool side? And I feel like this Liverpool side is going to improve as time goes on. I think, there's an unknown factor when it comes to the new manager coming in. But I think that the players there are going to be a team that improves, and Villa will want to be in that same category with players at the club that feel like they can still improve as well, and a kind of a start of their cycle at Villa Park.
And it's difficult for us to kind of think about the Villa team, because obviously, we don't know who's going to be back at this point, if anyone at all. Let's say the most likely is probably Tielemans. I think if he's fit, he probably comes straight into the team, doesn't he? But other than that, there's not really much we can do at the moment. You looked at that bench on Thursday night, and there was not much to come on and change the game. He could potentially change the left back, I guess. Moreno's back now, but really not much we can do, Dave.
No, his hand was forced on Thursday night with the kind of 5 at the back. But his hand was forced because those are the only players that are fit and available at the moment, are central defenders. So it's almost like, well, if those are my players that are fit, I've got to build the team around them rather than him having the luxury of being able to choose from his strongest available squad and build the team around his strongest players going forward, which, you know, is such an unfortunate position to be in at this point in the season. Maybe you could have predicted it. Maybe you thought Villa. I mean, I think we discussed already this year that Villa did have a smaller squad than perhaps they would like. But I think from Unai Emery's point of view, if Tielemans is fit and can get through the game, or at least start and give 60 minutes, I think he would come in and probably play central midfield, and then McGinn would move either out wide or alongside Ollie Watkins. I think we have really missed Youri Tielemans. It kind of shows really the last few weeks how bad a miss he has been and how good he's been this year. I don't think Morgan Rogers is going to be available. Alex Moreno might well be available. Zaniolo might well be available, but I would suspect those two will start on the bench. And then the team almost picks itself, and it kind of rests on whether Tielemans is available to start.
See, I think the squad is big enough. I think the injuries have just been unprecedented. I think if you actually look at the players we've registered for Europe, obviously we haven't been able to put Chambers in the squad because we're at the limit, and that's not including Mings and Buendia. So I think the squad size is actually ample. We have just been obliterated, but by injuries. You know, Villa, if they're going to bring players in, they're in a position where they're going to have to sell people because they're at the limit in terms of what they can register. They've only got one player that classes as like a club trained player in their squad in Jacob Ramsey, to my memory. That's all we've got. So Villa can only name 22 players. Well, no, 22 players in their European squad because it's a 25-man squad. 4 have to be homegrown, and if you haven't got the homegrown players, you have to leave a gap. So Villa can actually only register at the moment with their current squad the way they are 22 players. We've got 22 players, and that's not including Buendia and Mings and Chambers, who hasn't made the squad. So we've actually, the squad size is at the limit that it can be. It's quite a weird one because we're talking about us being short. We're actually not. We've just had 7 or 8 injuries every game in recent weeks.
Yeah, I think maybe you think about maybe the size of the squad is right. It's maybe the depth of quality that you kind of think about now in terms of improving this Villa side. And particularly if we are going to be playing in the Champions League next season, then you're going to have to upgrade certain positions. So if we are finding ourselves in a position like this again, the depth of quality is there. Rather than perhaps at the moment where you're kind of having to fit square pegs in round holes.
Because we wouldn't have even been able to register Dendoncker, for example, had he stayed. Because Dendoncker came out the squad for Rodgers, essentially. And then Chambers has come out for Gaucher. So, like I say, we're at the limit of what we can do, really. So it will be interesting summer ahead. I'm sure there will be outgoings. I'm sure there will be 3 or 4 incomings in, as well, of players that can play in multiple positions. Because I think that's where, we try and help our depth a little bit by having players that can play in multiple roles. Look how important it's been to have McGinn this season, playing in multiple positions. Bailey can play off the striker, or he plays on the right. There's other players, Conte right back, centre back. I think there'll be a left back variant of that potentially coming in the summer as well. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting summer ahead. But yeah, depth wise, I don't think we're a million miles away from what we can have anyway. So that'll do us then, Dave. Final home match preview of the season. Thank you very much for joining me today, and thank you to Adam for producing. If you've tuned in via audio or video, do all the things that help us that I usually talk about: liking, commenting, subscribing. What can you do? You can leave reviews. That's the one I want on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That's the big push from me going into the end of the season. So thank you very much. Have a great weekend before we get to Monday night, and I'll see those of you that are going on Monday at Villa Park. Up the Villa.